Dreaming after you, chasing you in my sleep, babe. No, it's early afternoon, but it's the only way that I'll finally see your face. 'Cause I've been thinking about the days when you were mine. No set of rules, and I've been dreaming that's the way we're passing time with me and you. Don't wake me up, wake me up. Dreaming after you, loving you is my problem. I'm singing to your tune, hoping that you can follow the sound waves. 'Cause I'm already pouring my heart and soul into your wishing well. And I would never go the lengths that I've gone for you, for anyone else. Wake me up, wake me up.
Nights like these are therapy. I feel my sorrows fading, fading away. I close my eyes to see the light that's shining deep inside me. I just can't sleep, get lost in these moments. Can't press repeat, gotta freeze it and hold it. I'm in too deep, as deep as the ocean. No, I just can't sleep, 'cause I'm lost in these moments. Na 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 na. Lost in these moments. Na 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 na. Lost in these moments.
We still have the thing over us, the Untamed. Welcome. David, what's up, brother?
Hey, Joe.
Sorry, we had some technical difficulties that ran us a little late again. I see you guys are really impatient in the comments. We did not die. We just have this new studio. I kind of like this new setup. What do you think? I mean, this is kind of...
It's nice.
I like it.
The darker the lighting, the younger I get. So I'm loving it.
That's absolutely not even possible. With as much gray as you have, sorry, brother.
Hey.
I mean, I want you fool your friends and I'll fool mine, I guess, but no, I'm not seeing it, bro. Sorry.
I come here for love and get tough love.
I'm giving you some love, but I got to speak Galatians 4:16, bro.
You are my enemy.
It's good to have it. We got a lot to talk about today. We have a champion that is in the house, an absolute champion, who hopefully ends up in the UFC. Hopefully is not a word for it. He's 10-0. Jon Kunneman is probably one of the biggest warriors. He's a specimen. And, normally I don't bring this up, but he has diabetes. Right? He has diabetes. He manages that. He fights. He climbs mountains. And I mean climb mountains. He climbs 14ers at a retarded clip. I mean, I don't think a guy can get to the top as fast as he does. And he just doesn't quit. He has no quit in him. So we're gonna have him on the show. We're also gonna talk about Tina Peters. And the Department of Justice maintains its interest while the Colorado Attorney General is pushing back on their investigation. So we want to make sure we keep Tina in the news so she can receive justice. In other news, we're going to dive into what's happening with the statements related to the absurdity of the signal leaks. And there's everywhere I turn, there's no shortage of topics that we're going to be able to cover. Excuse me. But we're also going to make sure we dive into a little bit of humor and talk about Kaitlan Collins, who is constantly, this is probably the funniest thing I've ever seen, constantly getting shut down by the president. So all that and more on today's Untamed. Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talks about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. I don't actually want to waste a whole lot of time, though, David. We have a champion in the house.
You never keep a champion waiting. So we'll circle back. We'll come back to some of the headlines, but
man, he's a professional MMA fighter from Conifer, Colorado. His dad is, he's not living in the footsteps of his dad. He is in faith, though. I mean, he's a very faithful man. But his dad is a prominent pastor in Omaha, Nebraska, and is an amazing dude as well. But which is how I really met Jon. I met his dad first. And we sponsor him at DCF Guns. And matter of fact, they're cutting him another check for another win. He hasn't had any losses, so it's a pretty crazy deal. But he's the number one ranked pro men's middleweight in the U.S. Midwest, and he's going to become a legend. I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, he's 10-0, and he's not yet at the UFC, but he's just a specimen. There's no other way to put it. So with that, Jon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I gotta say the intro is good. I like the new intro.
Like it?
Yeah, that got me excited.
Changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, very cool. I'm pumped to be here. It's nice to get into interviews without a bruised up face right after a fight. So it's a quick fight. You don't have any facial damage. I get to look pretty.
Yeah, so tell me about that. That was you've had a bunch of quick fights here lately.
Yeah, I'm 10-0 as a pro. I'm hoping, I'm currently the 4th ranked pro middleweight in the whole country. And I think probably after this one, I'll be the number 1 outside of the UFC. So I'm hoping that gets me signed. But these fights, man, I've been just finishing them quick. I'm 10-0 and I've had my last 9 in a row have been in the first round. So my pro debut, my first pro fight was the second round, and then the next 9 I've just finished them in like under 3 minutes. So,
You ever
Gotta
seen
keep it going.
you ever seen the thing where it says finish him?
Yeah. Mortal Kombat, brother.
Mortal Kombat.
All right, so walk us through this. We have a clip, I think. Do we have the clip?
Not yet.
All right, we're getting the clip right now, but you finished the guy with a
Arm triangle.
yeah.
Yeah. So I threw a huge right hand. I like to come out like UFC doesn't like boring fights. So you got to come out and you got to like, in my opinion, to excite them, chuck some leather early. So I threw a big right hand and he didn't back up at all. He kind of just like shoulder rolled a little bit. And then next thing you know, my ear was on his chest. Like, I'm like, oh, I grab him, take him down. So I took him down. I got right to mount, hit some ground and pound. These 12-6 elbows are legal now. So I got to throw. You used to have to like arc over the top, but now you can just go straight down. So I threw a couple of those elbows and then locked in the choke. And then he did not want to tap. I had him in the choke for like over a minute. And he was just, I heard him like, like gasping for air. And then I went back to mount while I still had the choke in. And then I kind of cinched my shoulder underneath a little bit more. And he tapped. So no damage. I didn't get hit. At all.
Not once.
Not once. I got beat up more in training, the whole training camp. In the fight. So we got it done quick.
So let me ask you this for people that aren't familiar with your trajectory, because I've heard about you, but I've never watched one of your fights. Couple curious points. One is, how does the son of a pastor pick the warrior's trait of fighting? Number one, and then what was the training as a kid? You don't just show up and start fighting professionally. So, what were the disciplines that you wrestled with before you made the decision to go pro?
Yeah, well, you guys heard of Holly Holm, right?
Yeah,
Preacher's daughter. You know, it's kind of a
okay.
No, it's for me. I always wanted to be a professional athlete, and I've always kind of had a little bit of a darker mindset. Like I would be sitting in class and like the teacher's explaining like the course or whatever, and I'm like eyeballing people in my head like, could this person beat me in a fight? I'm talking like first grade, kindergarten. I'm 6-7 years old, and I'm like going around the classroom in my head like, oh, this person might be able to beat me. And then I would kind of strategize like, if I got in a fight, how would I've just loved it. It's like I feel like I was genuinely born to fight. Like I feel like even before I was training, I knew like kind of what I would do in a fight. And now that I'm trained, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of already had an idea of like what it was, just natural to me, I guess.
So what was the entry into what discipline of fighting?
So honestly, all of them. I started boxing when I was younger, wrestling, right into MMA, and I've kind of just blended them all. Kickboxing too, and like, I don't really have a preference on which one was my favorite. I was like, well, in MMA you can do them all. I love to box, I love to wrestle, I love to choke people out in jiu-jitsu, and MMA you get kind of all of it. So I started out when I was maybe 13, and so I've basically been doing this for over half my life now. And here we are.
So how much of it is physical gifts versus conquering the mental game? Because I mean, to me, the mentality, it's got to be unreal.
Yeah,
fight or flight, right?
Yeah, of course. I think mentally is more important. I do have I'd say some physical gifts. Like I feel like I've almost like unnatural flexibility and strength, especially in my lower body, like my knees and my hips. So I do feel like I have some natural gifts for sure, but mentally, you have to build that. Like you have to wake up every day and choose that I'm going to make today suck and do something very difficult to myself, so that way I'm mentally prepared for the fight or the difficulties life brings you.
Wow.
So mentally, it's a very learned thing. Like I was nothing, nobody. I had like I when I got diabetes, I was at rock bottom. Like in my life, I felt like I had no hope, no dreams, and I made the choice that I was like, you know what? If I'm just a loser in this and I fail, I'm happy knowing I gave it everything I had. And so mentally, I would say you have to learn that side of it if you're going to fight.
All right, so you type 1 diabetes. When did you find out you had diabetes?
My 11th birthday. And they told me, it's funny, in the ER, they're like, yeah, you'll never be able to be a professional athlete with this. And I was like crushed. I was like, because I wanted to play football, wrestle, whatever sport. I love sports. Like I love physical activity. And when I heard that doctor say that, I was like, oh, this is like, it was hard for me for sure.
And but you didn't accept it.
At first I was like, I I was pretty down in the dumps as a kid. And then I kind of had a little wake up call 6 months into it. And I'm like, well, I'm stuck with it. This is the cards I've been dealt. So I can either, complain about it and just let it control my life, or I can make the choice to actually like live the life that I want to live.
You know who first kind of gave type 1 diabetes a platform is actually quarterback Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler.
Of Denver fame before he went to Chicago.
He's kind of gay though.
Yeah. I like Cutler because he did.
I respect him as a diabetic, but I agree. Yeah, I agree. He's a little.
You could beat him in a fight for sure.
For sure, but he could
throw a football.
He could throw a football. I thought Jay was. I think the problem wasn't Jay; it was McDaniels. We had the worst coach. I mean, look, Jay had some leadership
Broncos
issues,
are gay too. Though,
personality. So. Well, they're no Steelers, that's for sure.
That's right.
When it comes to the gayness, but
that's not right.
I like to respect the state that we're launching Untamed Nation from. But if Joe wants to just crap all over the greatest football team, and I'm not pandering to the Denver base here, I'm not pandering,
Broncos.
But I just figure
Broncos.
Champions game recognizes game. So
my family's like diehard Packer fans, and so I honestly don't really care about the Packers, and my family like hates it. They hate it. They just like want me to be a Packer fan so bad, and I gotta root for the city I live in.
Your dad is a Packers fan?
Yeah. I know it's bad.
We're gonna have to change his mind.
I know.
We're absolutely gonna
Who's
have to change
team?
The Steelers.
Oh, Steelers.
I'm a Steelers fan.
I don't mind the Steelers.
Oh, absolutely. You got 1 minute 16 seconds. That's a preview.
Yeah, so we're going to change subject because I was actually just trying to highlight the diabetes thing, and then he had to have a clip moment to call out Jay Cutler. If you're out there, Jay, we want to bring you on the show. I
just want you to know, 100%. Jay Cutler's kind of gay.
Ah, man. Okay. With that, we've got a clip of Joe AK-47 Kunneman. Let's take a look.
Joe.
No, I mean John. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Joe.
Hey, Joe's a pretty good looking guy, so it's okay to get his name next to me. Sorry.
Come on, let's play it.
I'm here with your new APFC middleweight champion, Jon Kunneman. John, it was one-way traffic all the way through. Was that your game plan to get to your shot, get the takedown, and get him out there as soon as possible?
Honestly, not really. My game plan was to strike a little more, but I ended up right in that position, so I got to take it. But I'll be quick. I know we're on TV time. I'm going to take this from you real fast.
I can't let you have a mic, but I can let you talk.
I got a couple of things. Number one, what's up, Milwaukee? Number two, shout out to my sponsors, Twin J, OVTV, Symmetry Massage, DCF Guns. But I got something to say. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm not supposed to be here. I've taken 30,000 insulin shots to stay alive, and I'm here telling all you type 1 diabetics, you can do anything you put yourself to, and you can be something great. And the last thing, Dana White, Mick Maynard, my name is Jon Kunneman. I'm 25 years old. I'm 10-0 with 10 finishes. Sign me!
Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Jon Kunneman.
Don't we have the fight?
It's on UFC Fight Pass, so you'd have to get it.
Get it.
Yeah, we're just going to stop the interview and just watch the fight.
I thought we were going to have the fight. I thought that was the whole thing, is we were going to watch the fight. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
You have to get it off UFC Fight Pass, but I don't know how you
licensing issues. Hey.
No, you could do it. It's John's fight.
I don't know how. I think I own the rights to my own fight.
No, as well, not as your lawyer, but yeah, you might have an issue broadcasting the fight.
All right, listen. Okay,
you got to make an account and put a credit card in. Like credit card and a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know. You can try it.
Here's another one. I got this other one I just put up there. This is him finishing the guy, and you can see the guy crying. He was literally crying after he did that to him.
I didn't even see.
Yeah, he was crying.
There you go.
See? He's like crying. Him crying.
That's the choke. I don't know how to get that up there, but
he'll put it up.
All right.
You got it, Apollo?
Yeah. So while he's getting the video up, have your parents come to any of your fights live?
Not since I've been a pro. All my fights have been like all over. So I've fought in like Kentucky. I fought in Alaska even.
Okay.
Milwaukee, North Dakota. So none of them have been like local to them. So they're busy. So they haven't been able to go to any of the pro fights. But when I fought locally in Nebraska, they were able to make it.
Now, another question, because you talked about you making someone cry. Have you had someone's mom out there in the front row after you give them a beating have to say, "I'm sorry. I know that's your boy. I know you love him, but I gotta lay down the pain."
I mean, they're trying to kill me in there, so I'm trying to do, like I'm under the mindset of like, if I kill him, he's trying to do the same thing to me. So, I don't feel bad at zero at all for what I do to them in the cage, because that easily could be me too.
So you mentioned a bunch of different disciplines: wrestling, boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Was there one in particular that you feel like has transferred over to MMA more than others? I just know that wrestling sucks from a physicality standpoint.
Yeah. Oh, it's brutal.
It's
I
brutal.
think wrestling's fun.
I think.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So for MMA, I'll keep this short and simple. You have basically like 4 or 5 disciplines that people bring in and combine to MMA. You have wrestling, boxing, kickboxing / Muay Thai. Muay Thai is just kickboxing with elbows. So kickboxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, which is basically grappling with chokes, and then I guess like sambo. So for me, I primarily am a boxer and wrestler. I still love jiu-jitsu, sambo, even judo takedowns. But boxing and wrestling are the two that's like my game. Like that's my style.
Okay.
Is that. So.
Right on. No, I did wrestling for 1 year, Joe, at the 155-pound weight
How'd you
class. I sucked. They put me up with this guy that never took showers. They called him Beavis. Stinky armpits. It was all psychological. He knew I didn't like stinky people. Getting close. And so I tried it for 1 year, but I'll give you respect because it was the most physically demanding thing where you get that taste of blood in your mouth because you're working so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I played soccer. I mean, we'd run all day long, but nothing like
I knew
wrestling.
you were gay.
Yeah.
I mean, soccer is kind of gay.
You saw my 3-finger takedown. So watch it, Joe.
That's half gay. I was like,
Possibly the mediator between these two.
Yeah.
I think I could take him. Although yesterday we talked about the fact that he literally hit a guy in his chest with 2 fingers and knocked him across. The guy called him Karl Marx.
Charles Marx.
Karl Marx.
That's some fighting words. That's like calling him a communist, and at that point, you gotta fight him.
He literally just put 2 fingers in his chest, knocked the guy back, hit his head on the bar, and almost died.
All right.
And then we left.
I don't know if you can beat that, Joe.
I don't know. He might just twisted the finger.
I've got dad strength. I'm telling you, I've got dad anger. That's it. That was it.
Flip a car on a freeway to save his family.
Well, do we have the clip up? Because we want to see the takedown.
We want to see your guy cry.
There you go. This is the choke right here. Yeah.
He's crying.
That's just the choke.
You see the cry? See, he was crying.
He wasn't worried.
He was really disappointed after. He was not happy.
Yeah, I mean, it just yeah. Look, I don't think you've ever gone into a fight where you didn't have the look on your face of I'm going to win.
Yeah, you have to. As soon as you don't believe in yourself in fighting, then you've already kind of put yourself at a big disadvantage.
Do you have any heroes or people that you look up to within the industry that you
Fighting?
Yeah, for different reasons. Because I mean, not everything transfers, right?
I would just say the people who've like mentored me and trained me, like John Jones and Justin Gaethje, who's a Colorado guy.
He's a
those two.
nutball too. He's kind of like you.
He's a wild man.
Yeah,
Gaethje's a wild man. He hits like a truck. He hits like a truck.
I feel like he's hit you a few times.
He's definitely hit me a few times. I have some footage of our rounds where it's like it's fighting for your life in the gym. And he's. I think
Do you wear headgear when doing in the gym?
I think sometimes headgear like allows you to get hit more. You know what I'm saying?
You can't see it.
Well, your peripherals are definitely down, and your head becomes a much bigger target too. So I don't think that like I don't wear headgear. You don't wear headgear in a fight, you know?
No, you don't.
If you
I
spar
don't
smart,
think you ever wore headgear.
I've worn in boxing gyms. You pretty much everyone wears it, but you don't wear them in fights. So I'm like, I don't know. Why have a? I try to make sparring as realistic as possible to the fight. You know, like my warm up, everything is exactly what I do on fight night. You know?
Well, you're kind of like Mr. America, because how we met is you like to play with guns.
I do, yeah.
And you have guns, and you
Shout out DCF Guns.
DCF Guns.
They pretty much are fully responsible for my gun library.
But you like guns, and there's something happening in the state of Colorado right now.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about it.
It's SB 3.
Oh, 3, yeah.
What do you think? They basically want to make it illegal for any semi-automatic weapon.
So I've
Instead of
thought
Colorado.
about this a lot, and I don't want to over explain this, but if you think about this and you look at outside of left wing, right wing, you look at a politician who says they care about public safety, all right? And you
Mhm.
look at crime. What happened when we banned alcohol? People drank in speakeasies.
Right.
Laws are not in place to stop people from committing crimes. They're
Right.
there to hold you accountable for when you break the law. People are still going to commit crimes regardless of what the law says. So if you're going to shoot somebody, murder somebody, you're probably not going to go, hey, let me go to the gun store, register this gun in my name, and kill someone with a gun that's directly registered to me. No,
Right.
you're probably going to illegally obtain it. You're going to get it an unregistered firearm with serial number ripped out or removed. The point is, you're not going to get it legally, most likely.
You can't regulate evil.
Right. And so my point is with this, all this SB 3 bill does is take guns out of law-abiding citizens' hands or make it harder for law-abiding citizens to purchase them. And in turn, with how long it takes the police to arrive at the scene for crimes,
11 to 13 minutes on average.
when imagine you're in a public place and there's a violent act and a shooting, you can defend the public. You can be a public defender and you can do the right thing. But if you make it harder for people like you, me, to do that and obtain these firearms, all you're doing is empowering the bad guys, the evil. And so you look at those politicians who they say care about public safety, it makes me want to throw up at that, because it's like, you don't care about public safety. If you truly did, you would want good people carrying firearms and owning firearms, because illegal or criminals who are going to commit crimes and do illegal activities aren't going to purchase firearms the way you do it, the way I do it, the way Joe does it. They don't. And no matter what laws you put in place, people are still going to commit crimes. Like I said, look at drinking in the 20s. They still drank alcohol despite it being illegal. And so these laws aren't going to stop murderers from murders. They're not going to stop mass shootings. They're not going to stop crime. All it's going to do is disarm the good people and the public. And it makes you question what the bigger agenda of this whole thing is, because they're clearly not doing this for public safety or the greater good of society. That's my thought.
Well, you got a couple things. We've got a thing that's called due process. There is a place for people to have their restrictions on their rights, but that's after they've done something wrong, to where you could take that. But to take away someone's ability to protect their family, and I have some of the details. I mean, I've been learning since I've been here the past few days about the concealed carry type stuff, the requirements on how long these classes are. It's just bureaucracy, just building those layers to where the incentive to even go into a gun store, even go through the process, when they keep adding layers to that, it's got to be frustrating. I mean, Joe, you're the gun guy here in town, but can you just tell us what kind of impact this is going to have? Because it's not going to end
We won't follow
in Colorado.
We won't follow it.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we won't follow. We are not going to see the Second Amendment. This just for all those people that understand, this law violates the Second, 10th, and 14th Amendment. The Second Amendment comes right after the First Amendment. The Second Amendment basically says that you have a right to bear arms. It doesn't say you have a right to bear arms if the state says you have a right to bear arms. It doesn't say that's the right, then, and as you start looking at, and I'll go straight to the 14th first. There's this thing called parity, equal application of law, that everyone in the United States has the ability to equally have rights. So there is no parity in the laws of Colorado and that of California or of Florida. Someone in Florida has more rights than they do in Colorado to protect themselves, to protect their family. And that's not the whole idea of putting the Second Amendment in the Constitution is to allow if the federal government decides they want to step in and mandate restrictions on firearms, they have the ability to do that. Now, do I think it's legal? No, I don't. But would I be more apt to follow a federal mandate than I would a state mandate? Absolutely.
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Because rights are rights. It doesn't. I mean, if we're gonna, I like where you started.
All right, hold on a second. Let me put it this way, okay? I think you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
Well, let's hear it.
I personally, for me, and this is not going to go over very well with some people. If you're adjudicated as defective, like mentally defective, they should stop you from buying a gun. Okay. I don't believe in red flag laws, but I also turn down probably 5 people a week buying guns. We have a set of questions that we ask, and if you can't answer those questions, you're not buying a gun.
But that's the private marketplace, and so you can regulate your store as a guy that owns the store. All I'm saying is that the 14th Amendment, when you're talking about, usually the way that people understand is that the 14th Amendment makes sure that everyone knows that no matter what state you live in, you get the full breadth of rights that are enshrined in the Bill of Rights. And to the degree that a state can do something, all they can do is create greater liberty, not less. And so when we talk about Colorado, they're creating less liberty for gun holders. So,
and hold on a second, because I haven't gotten to the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment is very clear in that the rights that are not enumerated by the federal government are reserved for the state.
Yep.
But the state now is saying that not only are you enumerating rights on the federal side, but we're going to encroach on those and take those away from you. We've seen them do it on the First Amendment, where they did in Michigan, where they made it illegal to call out fraudulent elections. And now you see it here with what they're doing with the Second Amendment. And my problem is that the feds aren't picking up the torch.
I agree. I do agree. And I don't think what really annoys me is that these politicians will preach public safety. We care about the greater good of American society. We want to protect and save lives, when they know that these laws and these regulations, in fact, probably do the opposite, in my opinion. And it's very distasteful and immoral to me to see politicians claim that they care about public safety when that's not their agenda at all, right? How can you argue logically that what they're trying to do protects people in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah.
It doesn't. And that's the problem. It's like they're blatantly violating our rights as Americans to protect our families, our loved ones, ourselves, and in the name of quote unquote public safety, when what they're doing is completely the opposite. If I'm a criminal and I'm seeing this, like this is like almost good news. You know what I'm saying? And for law-abiding citizens like ourselves, this is as bad as it gets, because I can't even, if I don't know the exact details, I can't even take my own firearms out of my own home if this goes into effect. That's ridiculous.
I hear you. Well, let me ask you this, because I want to make sure that, while we're having a larger conversation on guns, you've got the other guns. What is the next step for you? I know that you made the shout out, get you in UFC.
Yep.
Who do you want to fight?
Yeah.
I think share a bullet, the Russian dude, would be a really good fight.
You just went straight to the top. Do not pass go. Just go straight
in. No, I think that the goal is so the way a lot of the time you get in is either the Contender Series or short notice replacement. I'm hoping the Contender Series isn't for another like 6 months, so I'm hoping I can get in on the short notice replacement. I almost got in twice this year. The first one was in California. And the medical requirements for California are way beyond like the standard physical blood work, eye exam. You have to do like a brain scan, a heart scan. So I didn't have those two things up to date. And so it was like 2-3 days notice. And they're like, hey, can you make weight? You good? I'm like, yeah, we're in. And they're like, all right, let's see if we can get these medicals booked. And they ended up finding a middleweight who had the California medicals up to date. And so they pulled him just because it's easier to get that done on
California letting us down again.
I know, right? And then the other one was the Saudi Arabia card, and they ended up just rebooking the fight because getting someone to Saudi Arabia on like 4 days' notice.
Who has the non-existent standards? If California is trying to make it hard, is there like some place like in Tennessee where
it's easy? The commission, Alaska is the easiest. Alaska does not care. Their blood work is like pretty much all you need. As long as you don't have AIDS, you can fight.
Wow.
So, and then a lot of the Midwest states are pretty chill. But there's some that are wild. Like usually California is crazy. New York, New Jersey are kind of the three that are known as the commissions that you have to have just a ton of rules to even be eligible to fight.
Now the clip that we saw, was that the short one where you basically went in, right positioning? It's got to be satisfying to get in and out with a W.
Yeah.
Is there one moment out of your professional run here where you're like, that you're especially proud of that victory?
Honestly, I would say, man, this one, and it wasn't my most impressive like finish. Like I had 2 fights ago, I knocked a guy out 9 seconds into the fight. Like the very first punch I threw, he went out cold. It's a cooler finish, but this one, I overcame a lot of adversity. My blood sugar was all jacked up before the fight. I actually popped my knee 3 weeks before the fight and I was considering pulling out. And so to just get through that and be able to get through all the different ins and outs that this is one of the hardest training camps I had mentally. Like I just injuries, like the first like half of training camp, perfect. Everything was going smooth. Then the second half was just a train wreck. And I was like, it's really terrible going into a fight, not knowing if your body's prepared or if you're prepared. It's like if you were to study for a test and you only could study for half of it. And then also the night before the test, you get no sleep and you're just like kind of going to the test like, well, am I ready? You kind of have those doubts. And so to be able to overcome that and fight real good, feel good on fight day, I'm really proud of that because I think it tells me that, when we're in the UFC, it's only going to get harder. And when I'm at a point where fighting a really tough dude and I have a bad training camp, I know that I can get through it and still be successful.
All right.
The fight went 3 minutes, right? Two and a half.
2:40, yeah.
Yeah. So it went 2 minutes. Were you frustrated that it didn't last longer? I mean, was there any part of it where you were like,
kind of wanting to have a little bit of a war soon, but I'll never complain over a quick finish. If I can, at any point, I want to have a lot of fights, and so if you can get in, to in and out of a fight, taking no damage, that's always a blessing because each time you get hit with a real hard shot, you're over time, your health bar goes down. You see people by the time they're 35 and they can't fight anymore because they're so broken from all the wars they've been in. I'm blessed. My first 10 fights, I've taken virtually like no damage. So I'll keep that running.
So are you worried about the 35? Are you looking ahead and saying, okay, I got to get to a place. CTE is a big issue for fighters. And there are some crazy fighters out there.
Right.
I mean, Chuck Liddell is the perfect example of someone that is just a nutball.
I can educate you guys on CTE. So CTE, number one, boxing is far more dangerous as far as CTE goes than MMA. MMA looks worse because the superficial damage, cuts, black eyes, things like that. But boxing, you get hit in the head way more. In MMA, your whole body's a target. I can kick your legs. I can take you down and choke you. I can punch your body. There's a whole bunch of targets, right? Number one. Number two is you look at the older generation of MMA, like your Chuck Liddells and the people, they used to just spar every day, 100%. And nowadays, if you get hit with a good shot in sparring, all right, I'm not going to spar the next session. I'm going to just focus on drilling and staying in shape. The training has advanced so much to where people are safer. I think the rate of CTE is going to be extremely low when my generation gets to be retired and older.
What do you think about the older iteration of UFC? Because back in the day, like they'd put someone like Hoist Gracie in there and if the other person made it like Tank Abbott, who outweighed him by like 150 pounds or 200 pounds, like that also seems to go in favor. I wouldn't say that the quality of fighting was as good, because a lot of people would say that they didn't even put out the best Gracie. So maybe you didn't have the best collection of fighters, but it was the wild, wild west.
Literally, I was going to say it was the Wild West. I mean, back before there was commissions, I mean, you could poke people in the eye, you could hit them in the nuts, you could do literally almost anything now. And now there
were no gloves either.
There was no gloves, And gloves really don't. Gloves protect your hands more than they do your face, honestly, someone's face. Yeah, they can cut you. It's really just cuts. Gloves protect cuts on the face and broken hands. That's really all they do. It's not about the power or the...
Yeah, I've seen some of the, sometimes on Facebook, to scroll through and stuff will jump in your feed, but Don Fry was one of those guys, total badass. Yeah. Ken Shamrock, those fights. Yeah. And I remember UFC being one of those things where... As an avid professional wrestling fan, just growing up as a kid watching, it was a big deal. But who thought that it would blow up into this thing now, where it has effectively replaced boxing, and that was unheard of. Like in the 80s and 90s, I mean, if you could have Don King showing up, Tyson, Holyfield, it is the big ticket. So
it is, man. It's I believe it's the fastest growing sport in the world. The unfortunate side of it is probably the lowest paying sport of the major sports. Like you guys know how much a base low level UFC contract is when you get signed?
It's like $40,000.
You get $10,000 to show up, and you get another $10,000 if you win. I believe it's maybe $12,500. I think so. You get $12,500 if you show up, $12,500 on top of that if you win. That's the bottom barrel minimum UFC contract. Mm-hmm. And so you have people that. And again,
so that 12.5, you have to do at least 2-3 fights a year.
Yeah, and hopefully get your next contract. And if they re-sign you, it goes way up. But you look at probably 20 years ago, back to Wild West days, they were making a third of that at best. And so the sport's moving in the right direction. I really hope that more people. That's the one thing I hate about the sport.
And there's a lot of money in it, though.
There's a ton of money in it,
and there's only a few. You have. You have UFC,
you have Bellator, PFL, ONE, but the UFC, no promotion even comes close to the UFC. People like to think, PFL is as big as UFC or ONE. They're not even close, not even a fraction of what the UFC is. The biggest, the best, the absolute number one promotion, the highest paying promotion. Even though the bottom tier guys don't make that much, they pay far more overall than any other show.
I mean, you had Conor McGregor made, I think, a $45 million deal for one fight.
One night. Yeah, it's insane. And the thing is, like, as a whole, that's why I hate when people trash talk fighters. Like, oh, you suck. If this fighter, let's say he goes and gets knocked out and people are trashing him. It's like, this guy's fighting for maybe $30,000, $40,000. He only gets that paycheck a couple times a year at best, and he's putting his health on the line for your entertainment. And you see people, you ruined my parlay. And I'm like, I hate that. That's the one thing about the sport that bugs me, because it takes so much self-sacrifice.
Wow.
And you're not making, a minimum NFL player, a backup on a team is making like $500,000 a year, and they won't even see the field, So that's the hard part about the sport.
You mentioned Jon Jones as a. I mean, I'm a casual fight fan, and I've seen Rogan kind of talk about all of the greats, and Jon Jones comes up a lot as kind of like such a gifted fighter. What contact have you had with Jon over your career?
Trained with him a bunch. He's been a really important mentor for me. I've learned a lot from him on just like mindset going into fights and how to structure your training camp, how to cater your needs to be successful for the fight. And he showed me a lot of techniques. He's been a really important part of my career for sure.
He seems like he's so smart. Like
he's so smart.
He's a surgeon. He goes in there like he can change
literally.
It up.
He's a surgeon. He can do everyking in the fight, and he knows.
And don't bet against him.
Yeah, don't bet against Jon. Which, if you guys are wondering, he's going to smoke Tom Aspinall. It won't even. I don't think it'll even be close. I think Jon Jones goes right through him easily.
You think?
I'm going to say,
man,
second. Late.
Is that emotional?
Second.
Is that like an emotional friendship?
No,
type deal that you're saying?
Unbiased. That's unbiased. I have trained with some of the best guys in the world, and none of them even are close to Jon Jones. Jon Jones goes right through Tom Aspinall. Look, Tom Aspinall is great, but Jon Jones, I think, finishes him in the second round, end of the second, or sometime in the third round.
Yeah, he never seems like he's not in control of the fight. Like from distance, when to engage, and
I bet against him in the last fight.
Did you?
I lost.
Yeah,
I lost bad. I was like, he's not. This is gonna.
That's a bad bet, man. You bet on Stipe Miocic, a 40-year-old. No, Jon Jones, man.
Johnson's out of the game for a while. And he got a little crazy there.
I'll tell you this: you could line up every UFC champion, starting from the heaviest guy to all the way down to the little guys. Jon Jones could beat them all back to back. Like he could start at light heavyweight, beat him. Down to middleweight, beat him all the way down. That's like 10 fights in a row, and he could beat them all. That's I'm people like think I'm crazy for like saying how good he is, but
after watching that fight,
good, dude,
I thought he'd miss a step. I was like, he's gonna miss a step.
He looked better than ever.
Perfect game. He pitched a perfect game.
It wasn't even a contest.
Yeah, he's so good, man.
You talk about being surgical. He basically just put him in little pieces all over the ring.
Yeah, and I've seen him. What happens in the gym stays in the gym. I've seen him put some beatings on people in the gym that are some of the biggest names in the sport, and he always comes out on top.
Wow.
He's gracious about it.
Yeah, he is, man. He's so good. And I think he beats Tom Aspinall very easily.
Well, hopefully he's talking some good stuff about our boy here.
Yeah, right.
Make an introduction.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why. You're 10-0.
Yeah.
And you're 10-0 in such
dominant fashion. I can tell you why. My manager was talking to him. They had about 60 people too many on their roster. So they're kind of in clean out phase right now. They're just trying to clean out.
But they're not 10-0.
Of course. But if you've looked at like the roster in the last like couple months, they've been releasing people left and right. And so, which is actually really good for me because then it gets you in. I've seen people who, like, you look at Aaron Pico, dude. You know Aaron Pico?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's one of the best in the world. He's not in the UFC. He's in PFL.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get him to the UFC. So it's not about necessarily like, oh, you're 10-0. Why aren't you in? Aaron Pico, why aren't you in? It's about I think they're trying to the sport for a while after McGregor, when Jon Jones kind of retires, they're going to be really hurting for some big, exciting people. And at the end of the day, it's not just about your record. It's about how you fight. Are you exciting? The biggest thing they want is finishes. So that's been my goal. Pico, Aaron Pico, same thing. He gets finishes. And so guys like us that are waiting to get the call up, they're just cleaning house a little bit. And I think that they're going to really start bringing some guys in.
So that brings me down to, the Saudi Arabia and the Middle East got really deep into golf.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're eyeing the UFC.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because the UFC has certain standards for how they pay people. Saudi Arabia is I just heard this a few days ago. They are planning to come out with a fight club that pays the fighters 5-10 times that.
It won't be bigger than the UFC.
I know.
There's always the next best thing. I remember
that's what they said about the PGA, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened. It wasn't even a contest. They had to merge.
Yeah.
Because Liv crushed them.
If anything happens, I would say there would probably be some deal with Saudi Arabia and the UFC that would get made.
Yeah.
But the UFC, I'm telling you, I've been watching the sport for so long. I've seen all the next best things come out. Nothing is going to be bigger than the UFC. And the nice thing is the pay is only going to increase. You can't get mad at where the pay's at now because how far it's come. And it's only going to blow up. And I think it's growing exponentially.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think the UFC's definitely done. They put their mark for sure.
Yeah.
But I saw what Liv did to PGA Tour.
Yeah. Well, I do know that Turkish Turk. I don't know what his name is, but he's the big boxing guy that's putting on these huge boxing fights. I know him and Dana are talking. I don't know what has materialized from that, but I know that it's only good. So.
Well, let me get your take on one of the bigger pop culture events that happened recently, which was the Jake Paul Tyson.
Oh my gosh,
pretty disappointing for a lot of reasons. One, just because Tyson looks so great in the videos and the lead up, And I told Joe, I think we would have had a different outcome had they scheduled that thing after he woke up in the morning instead of putting it up at midnight. I mean, like age is a factor. Like when you get older, you don't put a guy out there at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. I'll tell you this.
Midnight. What was your takedown?
It
on
was
that?
a setup.
Those videos, here's the thing. No matter how good you look on videos, I've seen little taekwondo dork YouTube guys look like killers on the pads. But it's one thing to actually go in and fight. 58 years old was Mike Tyson's age versus Jake Paul, who's like 27, half his age. 58, I don't care how good you were, you aren't going to lose. Jake Paul, here's the thing. Jake Paul is putting millions of dollars into his investment to become a real boxer.
Mhm.
Right now, he's like a B-tier boxer as a professional. He's not anymore. He's not just some YouTube dork who he can box, dude. He actually can box. Like he's actually pretty solid now. Is he going to beat big names in the sport as far as boxers go? Absolutely not yet. He has a lot of work to do. He probably won't catch up to that. But to fight a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, who was at one point, I was thinking he was walking in a cane. Mike Tyson is over 20 years past his prime. People don't realize by 60 years old, you are a complete and total shell of yourself as far as physical attributes go when you're 25, 30, 35.
Well, with TRT and human growth hormone,
same, man.
but the fact that we were even talking about a 58-year-old coming into the ring and looking pretty good. I mean,
you still look great.
It's all
that's
relative.
the thing. He's still 58 years old.
Yeah.
No matter how good you look on the pads in a 20-second clip, it's a totally different deal to fight. I think they did 8 rounds. It's a totally different deal to fight 8 rounds against a young kid who's in his prime, who's boxing full-time with world-class coaches.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. We saw clips where Mike Tyson had the perfect uppercut or the perfect shot, and he didn't take it. You saw him hesitate, and he was... So one of the things that Tyson has always done as a nervous deal when he's being restrained is he'll bite his gloves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He bit his gloves the entire time, which means he's being restrained.
Yeah.
Because in his mind, he still showed up to fight. Yeah. But he didn't fight in that fight, John. He didn't fight in that fight.
He's also, that's where you got to think, and I can say this from experience, he's 58 years old. It's one thing when you see, he got hit a couple times a little clean, and it can make you a little gun shy. When you're 58 years old, you don't have that snap. You don't have that power and that reaction time like you do when you're young. And your body, to do 24 minutes of fighting is a long time. Like, go run for as hard as you can for 24 minutes. You'll be like, this, after 3 minutes, you're like, dude, this sucks. And to do that at 58, after all the surgeries, Mike Tyson had a bunch of health issues last summer.
Ulcer, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I think the fight was legit. I really do. I don't think there was nothing was fixed. Mike Tyson did what he did, but that's really all he could get.
Yeah, I can't tell if that's just old man pride because we grew up watching
It sucks,
Tyson.
dude. Mike Tyson's literally one of the greatest ever, and it sucks to see that he lost to some dork. And shame on Jake Paul for even doing that fight.
Yeah, but the bank account.
Of course, the money, you can't deny that, but still shame on him to say that he beat Mike Tyson. He didn't beat Mike Tyson.
Hey, Jake Paul, you heard it. You heard it from my boy right here.
And when are we going to think?
When
John
are you
wants
ready?
to fight him.
Right? Yeah.
John will fight you.
I'm down.
Are you down?
I'm down. Dude, that's the biggest payday I'd have my whole career. Let's go, please.
Either UFC or Jake Paul.
Jake
but
Paul
it's going to
or
happen.
UFC. I'll take it.
Well, which one would you rather have?
Oh, the UFC, man. I care. Money's great, but I care about, I'm in this journey to prove something to myself that I can defy the odds with the cards I've been dealt. So the UFC is the goal. Obviously, money, might be an ignorant thing to say that, but money is what sets you up for a future for your family and everything in your life. So I'd have to really think about it, but the UFC to me is the most important goal.
Are you a lifer? So once you get past, there's a shelf life for every fighter.
Yeah.
But have you looked into the future thinking, okay, I'm already planning, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. When I'm done fighting, I will probably coach full time, manage. I'm
coach soccer.
I'm coaching fighting, man. I'm coaching on the next. I can't even play soccer, dude. My feet are not coordinated like that to kick a soccer ball. But no, I'm gonna coach Coach fighting. I believe actually I would make even a better coach than a fighter. I think I have a very good, keen eye for the game and understanding tactics within fighting and what it takes to win on a strategic side. And so I believe that I'll coach full time for sure when I'm done fighting.
All right.
All right, so you're 11 years old. I got to ask you this, and then we'll let you go mess around with everyone here that wants to wear your belt. Jake Frejo is like a kid in a candy store. I want to wear his belt. I was like, nobody puts on another man's belt, bro. It's just not the way it works.
That would be gay.
That would be totally gay. You heard it here first, Jake. You're absolutely
Nah,
gay.
Jake, you can wear it. I got you.
Yeah,
It's only a little gay if you do it.
be kind. Be kind.
11 years old, you got diabetes.
Yeah.
Your dad's a pastor.
Yep.
What's that look like for you? I mean, what's that? I mean, that's where was the inflection point in your life? I mean, I know your dad. He's a
Yeah.
warrior in his own right.
I would say I definitely lost a lot of faith in everything. I just at a point where I was like, well, I mean, why me? You know, you have and everyone goes through that. And then I decided to take charge of my own life and say, well, look, no matter how much I hate this or I'm frustrated by this is the cards I've been dealt, and I have to stand up and fight this. And that's where I feel like there's so many type 1 diabetics out there in the world that I feel like I can be that person to, I've been posting a lot in, I don't know if you guys have heard of Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
I've had several posts get like
Almost
almost a million views on the post
Wow.
in the diabetes subreddit.
Do we look that old? I just want to be clear. I feel like I'm aging myself. You know what Reddit is? He just said that.
Yeah, well, you do look that old, Joe.
Give me that belt.
No, but I posted in there, and man, I've had people in that.
Before we leave, we got to sling the belt on the shoulder and just get our own trash talking clip on what we're going to do.
Yeah, that'd be funny. But I want to say this is, I've had people tell me in that Reddit group, say, man, I'm 16 years old. I was thinking about killing myself because of diabetes. And I see that you're a professional fighter doing this with diabetes. It gave me hope to, and if I could give back in that way to, this disease sucks. People scoff at it. They think, oh, did you eat too much sugar? It has nothing to do with that. Mine's an autoimmune disorder. And people don't know that it's the 8th leading cause of death in the world. And it's such a brutal disease. And if I can show other diabetics that you can still chase your dreams, then I wish I had that. So that's kind of my motivation for everything.
We support the Children's Diabetes Foundation have for the last 12 years.
That's cool. That's awesome.
And there's the McDonald family. They own a bunch of stuff, golf courses too. When he first called me and said, "Hey, look, we got this golf tournament. It's in Las Vegas at the Shadow Creek, which is an awesome golf course." I was like, "Yeah, I'll go play golf." And then I started to meet some of these young people, these 7, 8, 9-year-olds. And you're right. It feels like they feel like their life is over.
Yeah.
And I had a talk with this 9-year-old kid, just found out he was diabetic on the golf course.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, you have a lot of life ahead of you.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I got a 1 in 10 chance of dying before I'm 30.
Yeah.
And I went, you've got to be kidding me. That you can't think that way.
Yeah.
You got to attack it. You know what? You know what you need to do? You need to go jump out of airplanes.
Yeah.
And he was like, why would I jump out of airplanes? I said, so you can feel alive.
Yeah.
You feel alive. And I think that's what you do. You get out
Fighting,
there every
you do
day,
feel alive.
you
Climbing
feel alive.
mountains, same deal. You know, it's easy. I've taken over 30,000 insulin shots minimum. That's a conservative guess to stay alive. 30,000
You're like a human pincushion.
Literally, dude. My whole body, I got like little bumps and bruises and scar tissue all over from taking shots. And I wear this CGM monitor on my arm. Yeah. And that checks my blood sugar for me. It's like, it's rough. It really is super rough. And you got to be able to.
Because you can't take any time off. There's no time off.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like balancing your life to stay alive every single day.
Well, they have made some pretty good, was it the Betty Davis Center, which is the
Barbara Davis.
They've made some really big strides.
Yeah.
So now they have this vaccine they're trying right now to see if they can get rid of it.
I just started working with them as my my endocrinologists, and they kind of manage I do my appointments with them. So they're cool.
And the likelihood of you getting type 1 diabetes now as a child has increased since 2000 by almost 800%.
Wow.
like a big
It's
deal.
all the junk food. It's an autoimmune disorder. It's either genetic or it's autoimmune. And so I believe all the stuff people eat nowadays, the average American diet contributes to a lot of the stuff that people pass on to their children.
Well, one of the things that I'll just plant the seed, and I know that everyone's nutrition becomes a cult at some point on what they do. I struggle with autoimmune issues, alopecia, massive inflammation. I had a really bad back injury in 2008, and I couldn't feel part of my foot and my legs from neural issues.
Yeah.
And I tried out, I watched Dr. Sean Baker, who is an orthopedic surgeon from the Albuquerque area. He did like a 2.5 hour podcast with Rogan on the carnivore diet. And for me, it was a lifesaver.
You're full carnivore?
For about 6 years. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I've tried to maintain that. And what I noticed is when I used to do CrossFit, my inflammatory markers, I didn't realize how much inflammation limited my ability to do exercise until I went cold. But alopecia, where I get little dime-sized bald spots, everyone would tell me, "Oh, well, you're just losing this, you're just losing that, just part of getting older." And within 90 days of doing that diet, I felt like I had new knees, a new back. I've never had the issue come back with alopecia.
I'm almost carnivore, actually.
Yeah.
I do meat, fruit, white rice.
Yeah.
That's my standard diet.
And the reason why I want to ask you that, because this Sean Baker guy, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence where people will talk about, and a lot of those folks wrestle with diabetes, and they were getting really great outcomes. So, if I could have gotten a hold of Peyton Manning to give me one more year here in Denver, just going on carnivore, because he had that plantar fasciitis, derailed his career at the very end. I mean, he was wonderful, but there's so many people that I'm sitting there going, man, if you felt as frail and old and rickety as I did in 2018, I got on the carnivore and I felt like I was a young man again.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something there that will help, because you pointed
my
out,
blood sugars stay real good when I'm on carnivore. I have to have carbs like white rice and fruit, because otherwise my sugars would crash a little bit and I wouldn't have the energy for training.
Yeah.
But pretty much I'm almost 80-90% carnivore. Red meat and chicken. That's bait fish. That's pretty much all I eat.
That's the way to do it.
I like it. I'm all for it.
Nice and easy. Well, hey, John, how can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Jon Kunneman. And then my Twitter, or I guess X, is Jon Kunneman MMA. And then on YouTube, it's Jon Kunneman as well. You guys will definitely be posting some updates if we get a UFC call here soon. So you guys
I'll
stay
get out
tuned.
there.
Yeah, dude.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited for you. I'm super excited for you. I want to see you win a national championship with the UFC, then go on to get a $35, $40, $50 million. You're going to have to come up with a way you walk in, though. You're going to have to.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're going to have to be a McGregor walk, a peacock, something, right?
And until then, man, one thing I'm really grateful for is DCF sponsor me, man. It's like I said, when you're on your way to the UFC, it's a full-time job that doesn't pay you, basically. And if it wasn't for you guys sponsor me and being in my corner and in my career, this journey would be almost impossible, if not possible at all. And I'm very appreciative of you guys.
Awesome.
I got you. Hey, we are our brother's keeper, so we want to make sure we keep you in the fight.
Shout out UCF Guns.
There you go. Go buy a gun or 2 or 3 or ammo. Just be over 21. All right, we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about all this other stuff, crazy stuff that we've been talking about. We'll be right back. Are you looking for monthly income without risks of stocks? Here's something you won't hear on CNBC. There's a unique way to collect royalties directly from America's most productive oil fields. No exploring, no drilling, no operating headaches. You simply collect checks month after month. The best part? You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. The Oxford Club Chief Income Strategist, Mark Lichtenfeld, breaks down what he believes is the #1 oil royalty plan for 2025. Visit oilboom2025.com now to learn more. That's oilboom2025.com. Stop buying oil stocks and start collecting oil royalty checks instead.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the f***ing guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. Dude, John's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's a really cool dude. You know, yeah.
I just realized I PT at 4 and it's in Lakewood.
I'll go to your thing, bro. I'll talk to you later. We'll catch back up.
Give me a call or let's grab lunch this next week. I get back in town Monday.
All right.
You live in this part of town?
Mm-hmm.
Let's grab
All right.
lunch. I'm
All right. All right. So, you know, I started sponsoring John. I met his dad, and he goes, "Yeah, my son loves guns." And I'm like, "Ah, great. Let's get. I want to meet him." He goes, "Yeah, and he loves climbing mountains. I love climbing mountains. I love climbing 14ers." So he called me up and he's like, "Hey, let's go play and climb a 14er." I'm like, "Let's go." But we ended up not going up to the 14er because I don't know whatever happened. I forget what the whole deal was, but we went and grabbed something to eat, and then we went over to DCF and shot some guns. And I go, "Tell me about yourself." And he goes, "I want to be a fighter." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, and he had this thing where he just said that he's never asked for help. He doesn't call his dad and ask for help. He wants to do this on his own. And I was like, "Well, you like guns, so just, put us on your shorts and we'll pay you every month."
Mm-hmm.
We pay him every month. We make sure we cover his base expenses. And then he just gives us a shout out every time. He's this grateful. He's this gracious of a young man. He's just a great kid. Great kid.
Yeah, that's great.
So I want to talk about Tina Peters. We haven't talked about her in a couple days. Last time we talked about her, we talked about this Sharona Bishop person, and the fact that there's a lot of grifters, a lot of bad people that are just hanging their hat on and saying, because they know it's imminent. They know that something is about to happen with the DOJ. The DOJ has to intervene and do something about what's happening right now. And so this was filed on Monday, David, and the DOJ filed this on our case. And let's go up and pull this up if we can. Filed on the U.S. District Court, Colorado today, March 24th. Applicants brief in response to the statement of interest of the United States of America and respondent motion to strike. The Attorney General ignores fundamental constitutional principles at the heart of the case. Ms. Peters' application to search violations of her rights protected by the First and 14th Amendment of the denials of her timely motions for bond pending appeal. Government cannot restrict free expression by labeling its conspiracy theories. Clearly established precedent forbids courts from denying release on bond because the defendant spoke about a publicly debated issue. By relying on Ms. Peters' nonviolent words as a base for denying bond, Colorado courts violated the First and 14th Amendment. I mean, David, you're an attorney. They did not even, and this was on the bond for appeal, they didn't even give it any notice. They didn't even respond. They just said denied.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, look, she's a political prisoner.
Yeah.
And the Trump administration knows that. Having a statement of interest is extremely rare. That's why it's so promising that they're involved. And you really couldn't have written a more villainous script from Judge Barrett when he gave his sentencing recommendation. It was at first, it was kind of like, okay, this sounds like stuff that I've seen before. He turned into an absolute movie villain with just the amount of over-the-top rhetoric. And as someone who has been at many sentencing hearings, and I've put murderers behind bars, 9 years for someone with no criminal history, not a record of violence. It's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. In fact, I would defy anyone out there to find me a case where someone had a sentence like this, where there was really any incarceration. Anything more than a year or 18 months is beyond the pale. And yet that happened. So it's good to see that they're fighting back. But we're still kind of in this hurry up and wait. I did see an article in the editorial column for the Denver Post, not a newspaper that I'm happy about, but they actually had an opinion that was published asking for Polis to do the right thing and issue a pardon. And that's a win in our space.
Let's look at the significance of her sentence, though, David.
Mm-hmm.
If you were looking at this from the perspective of going just based on the merits of the case, if she was guilty, and it's not a political prisoner, if she was guilty, the sentence would have been collectively about 18 months at the most, right?
At the most.
And so she would be eligible for release right now.
She would, and honestly, there's a maxim under the law that you're not supposed to ever punish someone for exercising their right, because the burden's on the state to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Newsflash, prosecutors use it against you all the time, but they're not supposed to. There's case law that's settled that you're not supposed to punish someone by virtue of them just exercising their right to have their day in court. This, in most instances, this would be a case if I was the prosecutor and I actually believed in the righteousness of my case, that this would be a probated sentence. Let me say that again. If I was in the shoes of Rubenstein as a person who actually believed that Tina Peters was, guilty for whatever you want to call it, this would be a probated sentence. I mean, there would be 0 jail time. So the bigger question is, where's the real pressure coming from, Joe? Because Barrett doesn't wake up thinking that, okay, why would he have a hard-on to ruin this woman's life?
Because he was promised something at the federal level.
There's something going on behind the scenes that's making Barrett basically he's sending a message, but it seems so forced.
But he's done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Barrett's been admonished multiple times since he's been on the bench. In one such case, he created such a reversible error that they had to retry the case associated with, a civil case where there was huge harm to the victim in that case, to retry it. The same circumstance. Ignored the law, did not allow them to present evidence in order to sabotage the efforts of that case. I want to get through this. I think it's really important that response that was filed, that we just talked about, was filed by the attorney for Tina. Okay, that is paid by the American Project. Just want to point that out. Yesterday, the U.S. responded to the respondent's motion to strike. So this is yesterday. This is what they had to say. The DOJ filed their response on Tuesday. The latest filing in the District Court of Colorado today, March 25th, 2025. The United States responds to respondents' motion to strike. Because they basically want the DOJ to butt out. Okay?
Yeah.
The court should deny respondents' highly unusual and plainly improper request for two principal reasons. First, the United States is permitted to file a statement of interest by statute whenever, in the opinion of the Attorney General, the case implicates the interest of the United States. Interesting. Second, by respondents' own admission, important interests of the United States permeate this case, including whether the state of Colorado has violated Ms. Peters' rights under the First, 8th, and 14th Amendments. Respondents' politically charged response to the statement of interest does nothing to ameliorate those concerns. Ameliorate. It's like ambulance.
Ameliorate. Think of Emilio Estevez.
I know the word. I just got stuck. Those concerns. As a result, the court should deny respondents' motion to strike. But the precise question presented in this matter is whether the state of Colorado has violated Ms. Peters' federal constitutional rights. And the United States undoubtedly has the highest interest in the issue, received prompt and careful consideration by this court. Particularly, those interests are especially salient here, whether the Department of Justice, in reviewing the case across the nation, including this one, for abuses of the criminal justice process. And you have all the documents related to this. Now, I'm gonna just move really quickly onto this. And then the AG in Colorado responded. What's important about this response is that it literally is spitting on the U.S. AG's office. This is the latest filing as of the 25th. The trial court denied the motion because applicant demonstrated repeatedly that she believed she was above the law. That's not what she did. They're lying. Applicant exhibited no indication that she understood the gravity of her criminal conduct. Instead, after her conviction, she reaffirmed her position that her conduct was justified by her conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. You know, this is the part that pisses me off. They go fuck themselves. You want to sit here and tell me that the elections weren't stolen in 2020? There's like mountains of evidence. And somewhere along the line, they want to say that there's no mountains of evidence. That's not in there, by the way. I just added that part as commentary. Then they argue the claim was not fairly presented in the state courts. The exhaustion doctrine requires the habeas petitioner to fairly present his claims to the appropriate state court in a manner that alerts that court to the federal nature of the claim. General reference to the Constitution, due process, equal protection, or the right to a fair trial are insufficient.
Now let me chime in here because I want to drop an F-bomb. When I see this argument, why did the U.S. Attorney's Office not bring this to the attention of the state court before? Well, you had the Biden regime, Merrick Garland, in charge, so they couldn't, number one. And number two, Tina couldn't raise those arguments sufficiently in her trial because they wouldn't let her.
Right.
So this is such an absolute douchebag move to brief this, because with the help of Judge Barrett, every one of these arguments weren't allowed to manifest in a way that the jury can get a jury instruction that she had this duty to follow federal law. She was also following state code, but throw the state code out the window. She should have had that defense available to her, and that did not find its way into a jury instruction. And the more that people need to realize is that your jury instructions largely control what will happen in your case. It's not this boring thing. It might be the most important thing that happens in a trial, because when you're done with the jury, when you're done with your closing arguments, they sit back there for hours, if not days, looking at this document to make sure that whatever facts they've heard, they can plug element by element. And they weren't given that matrix, if you will, of an element of defense that basically allows them to say.
They were not allowed to have any defense.
They did not have that jury instruction back there. And that was legal error. So many of those challenges on the legal errors have already been raised by Tina's attorneys, but now you've got the slow walking of the State Court of Appeals, and the entire judiciary in Colorado
is trash.
Is trash, and they've got a vested interest in covering up for Dominion, because Dominion has made sure that, you know, from the top of the ticket all the way down to the dog catcher, they have a greater say in who is serving at the Capitol, who's serving in the AG's office. Many of these people are complicit with the Dominion scheme, and it also includes the judiciary.
All right, so I'm going to ask the question as we kind of go through this. They are then doubling down on the there's nothing wrong with 2020.
Mm-hmm.
They're doubling down and walking past all the 4 reports that came out of Mesa County. They're doubling down on the reports that came out of Maricopa County, and I believe that the Doug, what was Doug's name? Doug's last name. Maricopa County. Ninjas.
Logan.
Doug Logan.
Yeah.
So Doug Logan was on our show right afterwards, and he said the reason why he didn't put in there what really happened is because it would have created a constitutional crisis. I was at a Clay Clark event, and I was getting the initial report from Doug Logan. Doug Logan provided me with the report that said that it was massively fraudulent, that they had stolen the election. It was in the original report. The attorney for Maricopa County is the one that went in there and rewrote it and took all that information out. And then Doug, when he got on the show, said, "Oh, that's not what happened." But he was the one that provided me with the report to begin with.
Yep. I was on that same email thread where I got to see an advanced copy. The word fraud was throughout it, and there was also a call for decertification. Both of those were taken out. You had something that was an incomprehensible mess. And, so there's been pressure exerted at every single level.
But they lied about that, David.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's not helping, and this is going to be relevant as people fall more and more in love with Grok. Grok, if you start putting in claims related to 2020, will give you the same biased sources. So there's got to be a demand for an AI that hasn't been created by a bunch of people that are citing sources that are USAID funded to create a perception that there was nothing wrong with the elections. Right now, I'm looking at posts. Anytime there's an election, the radical left is starting to do a Grok fact check. And what does Grok do? It basically regurgitates the same safe and secure, nothing credible. So this is going to be a much more important and explosive conversation as AI proliferates and there's competitors to ChatGPT and Grok. But as good as Elon's doing with X, there's certain questions that if you plug it into the Grok matrix, you're going to get garbage. And elections continues to be one of those issues.
Yeah. So, we've got some new AI platforms going to come out that I think are going to rival that. Because one of the problems with Grok is that Grok uses weights just like everything else does. And it's not destaffed. Like there's certain models, LLMs, large language models that are used. And Grok is smarter than most, right? It's better than ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And the things you're able to do with it as far as writing out,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's an amazing tool, but it's still, whoever's doing the programming, their personality is reflected in a way that is still accepting the kind of this conspiracy theory loaded stuff that doesn't help the Tina Peters of the world. So, I mean, if we didn't have the Trump administration keeping an eye on Tina, there would be very little hope there. I mean, we're still fighting for. Trump has been doing some other things though. That's really encouraging. He was in an interview recent, and so go ahead and get cut C1 ready to go, because he's announced an investigation into the cop who murdered Ashley Babbitt. I want to give a shout out to Mickey Woodhoff, who's just been a wonderful fighter for J6ers and everyone else. So let's take a look at this cut.
About Ashley Babbitt. It was a bad shooting. My father can tell you that. Anybody.
It's a terrible thing.
I don't know if you know this, but the Department of Justice right now is still kind of fighting that case. The family of Ashley Babbitt is suing the government, wrongful death. The DOJ right now officially is still opposing that lawsuit, trying to justify it. Shouldn't that be something that can just be settled at this point?
Well, I'll look into that. I mean, you're just telling me that for the first time. I haven't heard that. I'm a big fan of Ashley Babbitt, okay? And Ashley Babbitt was a really good person who was a big a MAGA fan, Trump fan, and she was innocently standing there. They even say trying to sort of hold back the crowd. And a man did something to her that was unthinkable when he shot her. And I think it's a disgrace. I'm going to look into that. I did not know that, no.
And the officer who shot her, Michael Byrd, is still on duty. They gave him a raise, and they gave him a medal, and I believe a promotion.
I think it's a disgrace.
He's a federal employee. Would you or could you do something about
I'm going to
that?
take a look at it. I'm going to look at that, too. His reputation was, I won't even say, let's find out about his reputation, okay? We're going to find out. But I watched that, and I saw that. And by the way, she was killed, but nobody else was killed. And, you know, the people that went down there, they had no guns. They didn't have guns. There was something to do with the FBI. There was something to do with Antifa and others, and it wasn't mentioned. And there's never been a group of people, I think, with the exception of maybe over the years, a couple of groups were treated pretty harshly, but essentially never treated so badly. And as you know, I let them out with pardons. I know you were very happy. I watch your show all the time. You were extremely happy about it. And plenty of other people were too. People don't realize this whole movement that we have is just it's a very inspiring thing, what's happened to our country. These people are incredible people. They were treated so unfairly, so horribly. Some of them didn't even go into the building. And the judges, the system, the hatred, the vitriol, the prosecutors, the way they wanted to destroy these people would go in and they'd be so proud to go before court, and they'd have a good lawyer, and they'd walk out of court like devastated the way they were treated, devastated, given years in prison. No, but I took care of them. I said I was going to, and I did.
Now, it bears mentioning that in this same interview, and kudos to Greg Kelly for bringing attention to Ashley, and because he talked about a fund being set up because they can negotiate having a fund set up for restoration
for J6ers.
For J6ers. So, great work, Mr. Kelly.
You know the problem that I have, David, is that, and I don't have any problem with what President Trump said. He's honored it, and he didn't want to say anything about the shooter of Ashley Babbitt, but he promptly went into a bathroom and left the gun in the bathroom and left after shooting and killing Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah.
So, and it was a bad shoot, because if you want to apprehend her from coming through the glass, you can, but you're shooting an unarmed person coming through the glass.
Yeah, you can't use lethal force in a scenario where you're not being confronted with lethal force. And one of the mind F's about the whole thing is that they let the folks come in. So at some point you're giving consent in certain areas and certain wings.
And the window was smashed by the Antifa kid, Sullivan.
Well, I don't know about that. If that's the case, but Jake Sullivan was there, certainly taking video footage. He was slapped on the wrist. CNN, I think, paid for that footage that he had. So, I'm sure that Trump has got to be very diplomatic on how he messages these things, because you don't want to be accused of the same things that Biden did to him, which is, I'm going to have my cronies go out there and round everyone up. But the reality is there's people here that need to be rounded up.
All right, so that leads me. Look, it's fruit of the poisonous tree. All the things come back to 2020 being stolen, and I just can't get over the fact that you have the radical left that is still holding on to the lie that 2020 wasn't stolen. David, how much information is out there right now? How much more do we have to have? I mean, and the fallacy of all this, the falsity, I'll use a probable falsity of all of this, is that these radical piece of trash liars, like they are going about this as if they're just going to try and convince everyone they didn't rape anyone, that they didn't steal from anyone, they didn't cause mass amounts of death and destruction to the American people.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest frustrations is that, I don't want to tell people not to forgive. But when you see duplicitous pieces of garbage, like a Chris Cuomo, these are people like even Pierce Morgan, you can see them rebranding themselves real time, and I don't think there's anything genuine about their mea culpas. They
No.
they know that they're becoming extinct, but they would revert right back to whatever their corporate handlers would have them say if the tides haven't turned back. So you're seeing this rebranding happening across the board. I am not a big proponent of forgiveness without justice, and I don't think that forgiveness should be given and offered in scenarios where the person that's being forgiven has not even acknowledged what they've done. So there can be leniency, but when you've got the press that's still defiant and gaslighting people, slandering people, lying about people, and whether it's the COVID stuff, whether it's the elections, there's, don't be so quick to open your arms and bring these people in. They need to be held accountable. And to the degree that we were subjected to the slavery that we were over the past 4 years, the most complicit part of this was the media, because people don't want to be a Joe Altman. They don't want to be a Jake Lang. They don't want to be a David Clements. They want to avoid the scrutiny that comes with it. So it's frustrating. I think people need to be shamed until we have arrests, convictions, until we see that. Now, outside of Ashley Babbitt, Trump has also expressed why Greenland is so vital for national security, stating we need it. Let's take a look at this cut.
We need Greenland for international safety and security. We need it. We have to have it. And it's a island that, from a defensive posture and even offensive posture, is something we need, especially with the world the way it is. And we're going to have it. And so I hate to put it that way, but we're going to have it. Modern day weapons. When you look at ships going up their shore by the hundreds, it's a busy place, and it's really something we have to have.
Do you think the people of Greenland are eager to become American citizens?
I don't know. I don't think they're eager, but I think that we have to do it, and we have to convince them, and we have to have that land, because it's not possible to properly defend a large section of this earth, not just the United States, without it. So we have to have it, and I think we will have it.
Man, I got to tell you, here's the problem. If everything is your enemy, and that really is kind of the CIA's thing, is that everything's a nail in your hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always out there saying that you have to defend. You can't defend. Who are we defending against? I mean, we've created our own set of terrorists all over the world. What we've done in the Middle East and Africa, and not the people of America, but the CIA. I mean, we have destroyed nations, bro. We have taken down leaders and nations and done terrible things. What they did in 2020 here, they practiced it all over the world first.
I'm conflicted too. I grew up being a big fan of Ron Paul and non-interventionist foreign policy. Don't want to be the policeman in the world. And yet, I'm wondering why it is that I'm kind of secretly cheering on the acquisition of Greenland and making Canada 51st state. I know there's a troll-like quality to it that I kind of just think is humorous. But my suspicion, Joe, and just a suspicion, is that China and our globalist enemies have likely positioned assets in place that are a grave threat to the United States. And because otherwise, this seems like it's such a foreign concept for purposes of the way that the U.S. historically has done things. Is we send money, and we don't necessarily have to have you, quote unquote, be a part of America, because we're still running the show. And so I guess the head scratcher for me is we've effectively outpaced the British Empire as far as reach. When you look at the number of military bases, I want to say there's 800 plus base operations around the world. So why is it so important to message that Greenland needs to de facto become part of the United States? That I'm not clear on. But from a standpoint of, okay, is Trump identifying the threat as it is, and perhaps in our ignorance, we just don't know to what degree, to what peril we're under. And the reason why I give him grace in this, Joe, if Trump was in 2016 and I saw this, high alert, red alert, like hell no, I don't want to see this. But because he went through an entire administration without wars, I think that's the reason why I'm kind of struggling over this, is that I typically would be with you. We don't need to do it. We don't need to deploy resources in that way. Is there something larger going on between the superpowers of China, where they've overstepped their bounds and are doing things covertly in Greenland? Without that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I'm not privy to some of the foreign policy issues that they have, but I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to figure out the peril that gets created by us playing Dungeons and Dragons or war games.
Blowback,
right?
Yeah. Now, the timing of Trump's comments also come along where the vice president and second lady
are headed to Greenland.
So let's go ahead and take a look at cut 3.
Hey guys, it's J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and you know, there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland, and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there. And I say that speaking for President Trump, we want to reinvigorate the security of the people of Greenland because we think it's important to protecting the security of the entire world. Unfortunately, leaders in both America and in Denmark, I think, ignored Greenland for far too long. That's been bad for Greenland. It's also been bad for the security of the entire world. We think we can take things in a different direction, so I'm going to go check it out.
All right. Well, we hope your motives are pure, JD. But
well, I think they are. I mean, look, I don't, and this is where I really get into, you know, President Trump ran for office. He could have just, you know, it wasn't for self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Had he just walked out and they would have negotiated a deal, left President Trump alone, he didn't want to be the last, you know, stand that he took. He knew the election was stolen in 2020. And here's the problem. President Trump is in the highest office in the country. They gaslit us for 60 years about what happened to JFK. They wrote an entire report about how he wasn't murdered by the CIA, only to find out he was murdered by the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, as you look at the things that are happening in this country, look, they know. He knows. He had full access to it. And now we've been able to uncover all the misgivings of people over not just the last 4 years, but the things that they did leading up to the 2020 election. It screams of treason. The whole thing screams of treason.
Yep.
So I'm not going to question J.D. Vance's motives or President Trump or what they're looking at, because frankly, I don't have enough information. But I will tell you, posturing towards war is never a good idea. It's never a good idea.
Yeah. Well, everything comes back to legitimacy, right? Which brings us back to elections, our favorite subject, because we had the executive order. But Trump has also made comment lately on states that refuse to follow what he has just mandated. So let's take a look at the next cut.
You know, yesterday, Mr. President, you announced another round of executive orders that included requiring states to secure their elections or they lose federal funding. That seems like a really big deal. Do you think places like California, where they've got legalized ballot harvesting, will actually comply here?
Well, I think they have to, otherwise we'll hold back funds. And we did a lot of things yesterday having to do with elections, and that's long overdue.
Yeah.
And elections have been rigged at a level like you've never seen before. You know that. I think you're a believer in that. But anybody smart is a believer in that. But they've been rigged at levels that nobody has ever seen before, and it's time to unrig them. You can't have that, and you certainly can't have it in this country.
Yeah, one of the ways that the elections have been rigged is clearly by the dishonest media and the big tech companies preventing voters from even having knowledge of what's going on in their lives. And we're looking at. I want to ask
many different ways.
Yeah,
they don't do as per the legislature. But they're also just ballot drops. Okay, we get into lots of ways, but they ballot drop. They cheat like hell. The Democrats cheat. Republicans don't cheat. It's sort of a very easy thing to say, and they can't defend themselves. And we're having a lot of it when we go after law firms.
Right.
The law firms are being gone after very much, and they virtually admit that they cheated. We have them in a very strong position, but there's been a lot of cheating going on.
One of the law firms
people have never seen anything like it, and we have to stop it.
All right, so
I gotta grab my water.
grab your water, brother. But in any event, look, Trump he's being bold. Seth Keshel actually put out a wonderful Substack on a deep dive on the executive order that was just put out within 24 hours. So people are unpacking it right now, trying to figure out what the weaknesses are, what are the things that still need to be dealt with. But the fact is, he's moving on it.
Let's talk what he just said. He just signaled something. He goes, "We're going after the law firms." They've basically admitted it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a report that came out that I was privy to. Somebody sent me some information. They like, "Joe, hey, don't worry about it. You have people that are going to go to jail. You're going to be totally fine." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to be totally fine. I don't even know what that means. I was totally fine anyway. I never lied." So frankly, I don't act, I'm not afraid of going to court. David, you know that about. I'm not afraid.
Mm-mm.
I'm not afraid of Eric Coomer. I'm not afraid of Dominion Voting Systems. I'm not afraid of Charlie Kane. The only thing I'm afraid of is that I want to grab that guy by the throat, Charlie Kane. I think that he's probably the most evil piece of trash attorney, lying piece of trash attorney I've ever seen. I mean, he lies about everything. Him and that other clown. Sorry.
Clower the clown.
Yeah, Clower the clown.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are they're deviants. They negotiate on the side of the road. Their client lied, ran into a building, and showed up on the side of the road. They literally showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that they had attorneys that are side of the road attorneys. Like, is that a thing?
Well, when you're part of the election cartel, the services that they offer to keep their
what does that bar card look like? I don't even know. I mean it, and then he basically committed a felony, and he gets out of a felony on the side of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that? Anybody else get away with that, David? Anyone?
Well, it's the wrong people are given outs, and shame on the police department for
somebody was in on it. Someone got a call.
They're all part of the club. They're all part of the club. They wink, wink, nod, nod, and
bro,
yeah.
Right before that,
mm-hmm.
he gets in a fight with his kitchen staff, like a fight on the side of the road with his cooks. I mean, this is the guy who wrote about raping his wife and peeing on her, making her bark like a dog. I mean, this guy runs 50% of the vote of the American people. Yeah, you know what? And what he said about the law firms, I believe that as they get further down this, there's stuff we don't know. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got access to information. They canceled security clearances for a reason.
Yep.
Because when they got into the system on our side and saw some of the correspondence that was going back and forth between attorneys and the DOJ and other things that they were probably monitoring because they have Space Force for a reason. I think Space Force was set up in order to gather intel and information. I do. I'm sorry. I do. I think I think there's something more that we don't know. And President Trump was willing to be patient for 4 years, go through 4 years of hell so he can come out the other side and just absolutely destroy people.
Well, I think the question has to be asked towards the Charlie Kanes of the world, the Mark Eliases. What is your price?
Yeah.
To sell out your country? Because there's one thing to represent a client, and then there is protecting someone that has committed treason and has laid waste to the structure of how our government's supposed to operate. And, so I look at the work of Charlie Kane and this Clower guy. They're doing the work of the devil. And you made your deal, but there's going to be a reckoning. And so if the canceling of security clearances has any bearing on what your suspicions are, it can't come fast enough. But the fact that there was a legal strategy that helped facilitate and carry out not just the treasonous activities of November 3rd, 2020, but even worse, the cover-up. And Trump gave that cease and desist on the campaign trail, warning people about their continued efforts at the cover-up. And part of that cover-up is to try to continue to destroy good men, like my brother here, in case after case, hearing after hearing, trying to wear them down. We've seen many people fall. I don't want to name them by name, but there have been many people.
There's been a bunch.
We count as friends that after 4 years they were worn out and they didn't see that they had any other options. But, the Calvary's here.
Look, I asked the question. I asked a bunch of questions of them. I said, listen, why'd you settle? And so, I had to ask a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, Joe, this, and this was happening in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had to ask Belinda with Tina Peters, why'd you settle? My brother was murdered.
Yeah.
You get flat out, that there's a fear that's been created, a fear of loss. And these people have tormented people in this country. They've tormented my wife, my children.
Mm-hmm.
They've tormented your wife. Right? This is not a victimless crime, but they walk around and they want to hold up this, they keep trying to say that this is a election conspiracy theory. They mock it. They mock what they know is the truth, and they lie with impunity. And they hide behind these fat little lawyers who, frankly, I'm really angry. I'm really angry. But I think that something is about to happen. I think the lawyers are now coming to the conclusion that I don't want to be the one that they skin. I think lawyers are sitting in rooms right now with the FBI and with the DOJ, and they're negotiating their deals. And I'm going to see, I think I'm going to see Eric Coomer behind bars. I think I'm going to see Charlie Kane go to jail. I think that Brad Clower. I think Brad Clower is going to end up in jail. I think other people associated with them are going to jail. I think that there are going to be mass arrests of these people. I think the judge in the case with Coomer, I think that judge is likely going to go to jail because that judge violated the law in 100 different ways. Was an Antifa, what is the protester?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, it can't come fast enough. Now, we got some people coming in here in a few minutes, so let's end on this last bit.
Who's coming in here?
I thought we've got someone at 4. Not in here. No, unrelated business.
Oh, 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a little time.
But okay.
Is this the you want to hear? Yeah. Do we want to talk about the Atlantic Publishing?
Sure.
Don't you think this is interesting? Now, here's what you know about this. This is the Atlantic published some of the Trump chats. So I want to point something out on, go to, if you will, page, is it 3? And you'll see on the 3rd page, as you put it up here, it'll say Michael Waltz added SM. Okay? I want to point out what did not happen when they created this. When you create a signal chat, if you're added to that signal chat, it'll tell you who added who. It'll say this person added this person, added this person, added this person. who created it. That does not exist in any of these. Which means, how did this person get access to it?
Well, you might be asking a rhetorical question because you're the tech guy, but I will say that DNI Ratcliffe did say something that was interesting during the hearing yesterday, that the Signal app was basically on all of the devices that many people used in government, which means the CIA potentially has a back door,
right,
to just add the people that they want.
100%.
And if that's the case, and he's given us a breadcrumb, Michael Waltz being added was not through the negligence of a Pete Hegseth or anyone else. It could have just been the orchestration of what we're seeing now, which is you need to fire everyone. We can't allow this to happen. And if the CIA is behind it, I actually think Ratcliffe was answering Mark Warner's testimony to that effect, that there's a back door. That's my guess.
Yeah, so if there's a back door, which I believe there is, then we again have more problems with the CIA that are running roughshod.
Mm-hmm.
President Trump keeps talking about it. Elon Musk is now talking about it. The CIA is actually calling people at CNN and MSNBC saying, if you cut off our funding, we'll make things miserable. And it's doing so hiding. It's hiding. These are people at very high levels that are hiding and making these veiled threats. And yet those people at the CNN and MSNBC, they're not talking about it. They're not talking about who is it that called them. Just the CIA called them. Some spook called you.
Well, speaking of just the whole Spookville stuff, there's a clip that was recently put out. I think this is on Fox News.
Yeah, Jesse Waters.
Jesse Waters. So let's take a look at his insights.
Sometimes send out fake names with a contact with their cells to deceive politicians. Wall says Elon and Big Balls are on the case. This wouldn't surprise me if Goldberg sneaked his way in. He's the lowest of the low. This is the guy who reported that Trump didn't want to pay for a Gold Star funeral. Remember, he said it doesn't cost $60K to bury an effing Mexican. Total lie. Goldberg's the guy who said that Trump called American soldiers suckers and losers.
What is that?
Lie. This guy's fine people, P-tape, can't trust him. Goldberg held this bombshell for a week and then dropped it the night before half the group chat was set up to testify on Capitol Hill. They testified and said, yeah, we use Signal. Biden gave it to us.
Biden gave it to us. David. Biden gave you Signal. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
All right, so let's end it on some funny stuff. Can we do some funny stuff? Can we literally just go after and just? I thought what he did to Kaitlan Collins was amazing yesterday. This is the first part where President Trump ignored every single question from Kaitlan Collins.
Let's take a look.
Let's play first cut.
That information was not classified. Which of your national security advisors
Just
told
following
you that?
up on your comments on the economy, there is reporting that consumer confidence.
So then he had another question, and he shut that down too. Let's go and play it.
You said that your national security advisor learned a lesson after a reporter.
Excuse me, I didn't make you. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, the CISA.
I think they have a playbook inside the White House. It's probably called the Kaitlan Collins Shuffle. It's a little jiggy. But that's not all, because Caroline Leavitt, she got in on it and shut down her as well during a press conference. This is just a bad day for CNN. Let's go ahead and play it.
The first bombs will definitely drop. Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
and on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip. Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I've called in.
The fact is, I love it because CNN is like, you can see them seething.
Yeah. Well, they're trying.
Seething.
They're trying.
Well,
Well,
it's a bad day for CNN.
may there be many more.
All right, last on the horizon, just so we're staying in line with all things that are happening. Grok decided that they were going to put out. They're just woke, right? We've been working on non-woke AI for a long time, so we got that launched, and we're actually meeting with some guys today about some AI. So it's going to be we're going to try and do everything we can to bridge the gap. I was just arguing with Grok, David. I was arguing with Grok on here, and about the 2020 election. I was like, "You're full of shit." I said it. You're full of shit. You're lying about the 2020 election. You're gaslighting the people. There's massive evidence. So it said, "Show me the evidence." I put it in the professorsrecord.com. Put that in there. I just dropped in the Mesa County reports. I dropped in the Antrim reports. And you know what it said about the Antrim reports, or not the Antrim reports, but the report out of Maricopa County?
No.
You know what it said? It said that there was a rebuttal report that rebutted everything that Doug Logan did in the audit, and that everything he found was a mistake.
Yeah.
That's what they said. And that we're supposed to take that as in, just sweep it under the rug. Your people don't matter. And when we talked about yesterday about what they've done to enslave the American people, they are institutional liars. And when we talk about the judges that are involved in this and the lawyers, sorry, your profession sucks. The lawyers that are involved in this, it's like a constant. It's like a constant lie fest where we're going to debate the ridiculous and find ways to hide the truth from the American people. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. So.
Well, I don't disagree that my profession sucks. I want out. I want out.
You're
but
out.
You keep bringing me back.
No, I'm trying to bring you into other stuff.
Yeah.
Other stuff.
All right. So, folks, we appreciate you all.
I got to pray us out.
But we do need some prayer. So,
pray us out.
Go for it.
Father God, thank you for the time that we had with Jon Kunneman, the time that we have with David. We're thankful for the sacrifices that have been made by President Trump and by Elon and even Big Balls. Father, we got to give a shout out to Big Balls. He's doing some crazy things to uncover some of the fraud that occurs, and not just the institutional fraud, Father. We know we can't lose our sense of humor. We know we can't lose our way. As David said before, we have to make sure we focus in on forgiveness. And Father, we know that vengeance is yours, and we know that we want so badly for people to be held accountable. And I think that's what we're looking for, Father. So today, that's what I'll ask for, is that you give us the ability to lift that burden so that we can be patient, while at the same time being patient, recognizing that vengeance is yours, but that we're desperately seeking consequences. And we want to warrior up for you, Father. We want to do what's necessary in order to restore you to our community, to our country, and to the world. So, Father, we just ask you to give us the courage, give us the pathway, and help us so we may walk shoulder to shoulder together, set aside petty differences, and may do the work that's necessary in order to protect the mission, which is your restoration. We are grateful, Father, for what happened in November. And we're grateful for the fact that you have spared President Trump, and you have kept him and so many others safe, including Elon Musk and J.D. Vance, and just the great people that are doing some great work. We haven't seen everything that we want yet, Father, but we know it's coming. So we thank you again, Father, and we just ask for your guidance and your protection. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. I'll see you guys I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Let's go.